All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Consistency Corner podcast. I'm really excited for our guest today, Kimberly Tara, who, the internet introduces cool people to cool people. So Kimberly kind of came into my world through my current mentor, Jordan Shonda King. They were on a podcast together and I heard her speak and really resonated with a lot of what she had to say. And as we were talking before we hit record, we've kind of connected with some other similar people in the world of the internet and Instagram.
Mhm.
And, that's one of the reasons that I'll just side note for you guys say, yes, we get frustrated with social media and we get over it. But there's also cool parts. I would never meet some of the amazing women I know today if it were not for the internet. So I'm thankful for the internet bringing together. And our conversation today is going to be a little bit about money mindset and how a healthy money mindset can fuel business growth. And Kimberly is a CPA and CTC, what is a CTC? What does that
It's a
stand
certified tax coach.
for? Okay. So she's a CPA and a certified tax coach, a tax strategist and business growth advisor, and also a mom of four. So she's got her hands full. I get it.
Beautiful.
But we're going to talk a lot about how she helps mom service providers maximize their revenue, reduce taxes, build wealth, and create a legacy. And I know so many female service providers get into this because those are their goals. They want to create a legacy. They want to build wealth. They want to be there for their clients and for their family.
Yeah.
And so figuring out how to do that and not turning your business into another job. I mean, which I think a lot of us can relate
I
to.
definitely did that in the first year.
Yeah, we've been there, we've done that. So, how do we use money and strategize around taxes to structure our business in a way that sets us up for those big goals and that vision that we started out with? So, we're going to get into it. Kimberly, thank you so much for being here. Other than what I shared, tell us a little bit more about you and your business journey.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here and I love Jordan and I'm so glad, same as you, I'm not really a big social media person. But what I have learned in transitioning to the online world is there's some bad people out there. There's some shysters out there. But when you cut through all that noise and you start finding the right communities out there, there are some really incredible women out
Mhm.
there online and some incredible connections. So I firmly agree with everything you said. I'm excited to be here and chat about this. So yes, I am a CPA and certified tax coach. I'm a wife, I'm a mom. My kids are currently 7, 5, 3, and just turned 20 months. So it's a circus. It's an organized circus over here most days. But that's why we work with the CEO mom service providers, because I inherently get everything that you're going through as a woman, that you're going through as a mom. My husband works a full-time W-2 job, right? So everything that you're going through, the reasons that you're leaning into your business, that you want to make this work, but you want to make it work in a sustainable way, I fully get it because I'm doing the same exact thing. And I actually had to sort of release a mentor recently who has changed her vision for her business. She's a little bit older than I am. She's a little bit further along. Her kids are older. She only has 2, not 4. And, she's really got her sight set on 10 and 20 million. And I don't have my sight set on that, at least not right now. I don't know if I ever will, but for right now, I'm trying to get my time back. I'm trying to figure out how do I stay lean with our expenses so that our profit margins stay high? How do I use tax strategy to grow and keep more of our money? How do I lean into my team to support them and to set up processes and efficiencies so that we're not needing me over and over and over again, and so that I can focus on the true CEO tasks that are going to drive the business forward. So that's a little bit in a nutshell. I was actually an engineering major before I was an accounting major. I did my public accounting stint, started my business almost a decade ago, made all the wrong mistakes in that first year, hit 6 figures in 12 months, but was completely burnt out, brand new mom, and have just been really evolving ever since then. And I've realized that we as a CPA firm, we're really different because we focus on the relationship with our clients and we actually care. And so that's something that's been a really interesting, just learning moment for me, that we have a really high client retention rate. We have a lot of referrals. And so we don't do a whole ton of marketing because the firm speaks for itself.
Mhm.
And there's not a lot of competition out there once somebody knows about us, because they are, women especially, are starving for a CPA who actually cares, who listens to them, who's going to educate them, who's really going to give them the confidence to take on that CEO role in their business, who's going to simply respond to their emails and get their tax return done. So we're just kind of here to change the game when it comes to money and taxes and finances for women entrepreneurs.
I love that so much. And I love what you said about releasing a mentor. And I think that's really a big moment of self-awareness of
Mm,
like, there can be somebody who's teaching something that's valuable, but it's not
absolutely.
you right now.
It's
And
so smart. Oh my God, she's so smart, right? But like me trying to follow what she's doing, it's
Mhm,
it's not right for me right now. Like you said, it's not
mhm,
right for me right now.
mhm. Yeah, and having that intuition to say like, I need to find mentorship, guidance, community, and people who understand my season right now, and you saying that's what I want to offer to my clients. I want to help
Hmm.
people who are in these types of seasons. So before we get into like money mindset and some of those, misconceptions around tax strategy, can you just clear up for us like what is the difference between a bookkeeper, a CPA, a tax strategist, an accountant? Like we're saying a lot of finance terms and we're not all financial people. So can you clear it up?
Yes. Oh my gosh, such a great question, because yes, this is so important. So I feel like the terms accountant and CPA just get thrown out there. And I should also add that CPA, I don't know, if you have listeners outside of the US, this is, when we talk taxes and we say CPA, that's going to be like US tax law, right? So
Mhm,
a bookkeeper is someone who is helping you with the day-to-day entries, those bank reconciliations, maybe helping you navigate payroll questions. If you're in Gusto, right, they're keeping your QuickBooks Online or your Zero, they're keeping all of that organized. They're making sure that your profit and loss and your balance sheet are accurate and up to date and timely, ready for you to use to make data driven decisions in your business.
mhm,
You might have a payroll provider or advisor, right? Sometimes that is the bookkeeper. Then you're going to have a tax preparer. A tax preparer is just someone who's going to take those numbers at the end of the year, right? It's after tax season here, so your tax preparer just took your 2023 numbers and put them on your 2023 tax return. Then you have a CFO, that's a chief financial officer. For a lot of small business owners, we see that in a fractional sense, right? Which means that they're just helping you, you're paying them a small amount, and they're just working on your business for a couple hours a month. And
mhm,
they're looking at the bookkeeping and saying, okay, can we become more efficient? Where are we going? What are our projections? What are we going to do in 2024 and 2025 and 2026? And they're looking at it with more of a financial mind, right? Not just like, oh, I want to do this, but like, is that possible? Does that make sense? Um, so then we have a tax strategist, which is what I call myself, because I'm not just a tax preparer. A tax strategist is proactively and creatively looking at the year and saying, how do we use the US tax code and your business to
mhm,
put more money back in your pocket and pay
mhm,
less in taxes legally and ethically? And so, there are a lot of tax preparers out there, some good, some bad. There are a lot less tax strategists out there. I've also seen some bad tax strategists. I also see a lot of people dipping their toes. Oh, I'm a tax strategist. And they're saying, go be an S Corp. And it's like, well, that's just one thing. And that's, yes, it's a tax strategy, but you're not even giving the business owner, the taxpayer, all the details that they need about it. So, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings, but, those are the basic categories. And
mhm,
then you've got like financial advisors out there, right? Like that's going to be more like your retirement accounts, investing, kids save education education savings accounts, right? That's where the financial advisor would come into play. And so I would say that, who you really need first is a bookkeeper.
mhm,
And then, because again, if you come to us as a tax preparer, tax strategist, but you don't have your numbers, well, there's really nothing we can do for you, right? So you need to have those financial records accurate and up to date. And so I really feel that even though we don't do the bookkeeping, I should put that out there. Our firm does not do bookkeeping. If you need a bookkeeper, message me. I will help you, connect you with some vetted ones. But I really do believe that that's kind of the first step, because again, without having those numbers, every nothing else is going to be able to happen from there.
yeah. You know what's interesting in my business journey? So I hired a tax preparer and tax strategist.
Okay.
before hiring a bookkeeper
Yeah.
and realized like this isn't working because
Yep.
my books are a mess. And so
Yep.
then after that first experience, realized like it's time. It's time to hire a
Yes.
bookkeeper. That was the first place I truly outsourced to on an
Hmm.
ongoing basis. And so in having conversations with my bookkeeper, who also does some fractional CFO work, it
Hmm.
was like, okay, your next step is probably going to be a tax strategist or a CFO.
Yep.
Like we've got your bookkeeping done, you've got a tax preparer, and I think it's really interesting what you said. A tax preparer and a tax strategist are not the same thing.
No.
And,
Some of them are, right? Like we do tax preparation as
yeah,
well, but they are not. Don't assume that your tax preparer is doing tax strategy, that you're paying them for tax strategy, because that's different
yeah,
from just paying them for preparation. And don't assume that because they say they are a tax strategist, because a lot of people have started throwing that, just like everybody's a coach out there now, right? In the interwebs. Everybody's a tax strategist now. It's a buzzword, but are they actually, like, do they actually understand the intricacies of strategy? You really need to do your due diligence to ask them the right questions to know if they're actually doing strategy for you.
yeah. And I think from like a marketing perspective, like I compare it to a social media manager versus a social media strategist.
Yes.
Like, yes, you can pay somebody $25 an hour to post your content. That person is not a social media strategist. They're not a marketing strategist. They're not a CMO. And they give you,
They're a doer.
they're a doer. They bring different skills to the
Yes.
table. But it's so funny when you were talking about those different roles, bookkeeper, accountant, CFO, strategist. Like my brain pictured Oprah at a table with all these people. And like think about it. Like Oprah has this huge business
Mhm.
and she probably has people that help her with all of those things.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like she's the CEO that has to make the decisions. And so that's
Yes.
your job as the CEO, is to find those right people that you trust, listen to them,
Yes.
take the advisement that they give you, and then make the decisions.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, I love so much of that. So yes, Oprah probably has 1 to 2 people that are full time for her, right? Because she has so many companies and so many different entities, and there's tax strategy behind all of those different. There's
Mhm.
legal protection, right? Which I can't talk to because I'm not an attorney, but I guarantee you there's some legal protection for why there's different entities. There's some tax strategy there, right? And she has somebody full time, and the small business owners like us, we can't afford somebody full
Right.
time like an Oprah can, but that doesn't mean that we're not deserving of having someone fractionally on our team who can help us think ahead and start, because it really isn't. It's so incredible, Ruthie, when I see the shift in our clients, and it's the mindset and it's the way that they start thinking when we're talking and they come to me with an idea and I'm like, it's clicked. They're getting it. Like
Yeah.
they're getting how to use their business proactively with tax strategy to
Mhm.
keep more money in it. Like they're getting it, and I just see it and I love it.
So let's talk a little bit about that money
Okay.
mindset, because I think so much, and I know I'm doing a lot of this work as an entrepreneur of trying to
Same.
figure out what's your money story. What have
Mm-hmm.
you been telling yourself about money? What have you made money mean?
Yep.
And I think it's important to unpack a lot of that so that we can receive the
Mm-hmm.
information that a strategist is sharing with us,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah. So a lot. So I don't specifically do money mindset, and I will also let me say that I'm not a very woo woo person. Like I am scientific. I am practical. I am a CPA. I was an engineer, right? Like, but I believe in the timing of things. I believe in your mindset. I believe in working on your mindset. I've had to do a lot of work in the last year, right? My money story, my abundance, taking for granted the things that I grew up learning, especially as a female, right? And that what I inherently know is not known by the average female or CEO mom. And so sharing that wealth, right? I think a big one for me is I've really been working on abundance, believing that, because part of my money story was, we always had enough, right? Like I'm the child of 2 entrepreneurs, and so we always had enough, but there wasn't a ton of extra, but there was a lot of love. And, so I have a very, money isn't everything philosophy, but also that translated into, well, money makes you greedy and money takes away love and happiness, right? So I had to work past some of that, and also just believing in abundance, that instead of living in a scarcity mindset that, because at our firm here, we will not take on clients that aren't a right fit or that we can't serve well or that are asking us to do something unethical. The money's not worth it, right? So you have to believe that there is another client coming down the pipeline that is a right fit that you can help, who is aligned with our values, and that takes a little bit of faith, right? That takes a little bit of woo woo in there, to make that happen, to live in that abundance and say no, we're not saying yes to somebody out of scarcity. And I did that in the beginning of my business, right? And it, it led me, I don't want to say it led me astray. It got me to where I am now. It taught me lessons, but that was a really important part of my money story. Where we start a lot with our clients in their mindset is transitioning from that employee mindset to that
Mhm.
employer mindset, right?
Yeah.
Because it's very different. And so, when you are, and I would say a lot of our clients, even though they're CEOs, whether they're 2 years into their journey or 5 years into their journey, at some point along the way, they worked in some sort of job, W-2 job before they started their business, even if they were doing both at the same time. And so, when you're an employee, you're not thinking about, oh, I just went and bought this planner. It's a deduction, right? Because you're just getting a W-2. You can't deduct it. There's nowhere to deduct it. But when you're a business owner, you go and you buy your planner, like that's a business expense, right? And so it's really getting our clients to step into that role of employer CEO. What expenses do I have that are business expenses that I just didn't realize that was a business expense, that was a tax deduction. And then once we get over that mindset hump, then we're starting to educate them on, okay, now how do we turn expenses that might not be a business expense into a business expense because you have this opportunity as a business owner. So that's
Yeah.
where a lot of our mindset lies how we sort of get started with our clients.
Yeah, and I can see what you're saying about like you've been a W-2 employee in the past, you lived a certain way for a long time, especially if maybe your parents weren't entrepreneurs or your
Hmm.
spouse is not an entrepreneur. Like
Yep.
you're not surrounded by people who are thinking that way.
Right.
So you're not thinking that way. So having somebody in your corner who can help you start to see the other ways to think about it can be
Right.
so powerful. Talk to me a little bit about from like an income level. Like
Okay.
when do you think a tax strategist makes sense, whether it's a profit or a revenue or whatever? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't make enough money to work with a
Yes.
tax strategist. Like, is that
Yes.
true?
Yeah, so it's well, that's not true. You do need to be, you need to be profiting enough that you're feeling the pain of taxes, right? To say, okay, I'm going to invest with a tax strategist who is going to save me money, right? And you have to be paying enough in taxes to be able to save something in taxes, right? Our average client tax savings is 60%. So, if you're paying roughly $10,000 a year in taxes, okay, hopefully we can make some maneuvers and get that down to 4. If you're making $100,000, if you're paying $100,000 in taxes every year, which we do have clients that do that, right? Our goal is how do we get them down to $40,000 in taxes and save them 60,000. So it's very relative depending on where your business is at, where your profit is at, right?
Mhm.
And how much you're actually paying in taxes every year.
Yeah.
So I would say that when you're starting to get to that 6 figure mark in gross revenues, you do want to be starting to think about this. You
Mhm.
may not be ready for it, but it's time to start doing your due diligence. If you are at about 50,000 in profit, you should definitely be working with a tax strategist, right?
Mhm.
Because $50,000 in profit, 50 to 60,000 in profit is where we usually start talking about, does it make sense for you to be an S corp? Everybody loves to throw S corp around and, oh, just go be an S corp. But I see it done prematurely. I see it done. Um, the actual S election is not done incorrectly, but all of the other things are done incorrectly. Making sure that you have reasonable owner's compensation and the right reasonable owner's compensation. Making sure that you have an accountable plan in place. Realizing some things that might have been deductible on your Schedule C are no longer deductible as an S corp. So how do we change that? How do we modify that so that we can still capture those? And having those conversations, we see a lot of, they file the form 2553 for the S corp and say, great, we're saving you money, and they don't they don't actually walk clients through, business owners through what it actually means to make sure that they are compliant with the IRS with their S corp. So I would say definitely as you're approaching the six-figure mark in gross revenue, but really you want to be looking at, what is your profit? And absolutely, if you're at 50 to 60,000 in profit, you should definitely be working with a tax strategist. And we've actually, Ruthie, we've kind of condensed our ideal client, right? This felt very aligned for us. We work with clients who are in that 60K to about 800K range. And why we have 7 and 8 figure clients. But what I love the most about our clients in the 200, 300, 400,000 range is that they are still very passionate about their business. They're very involved in their business. And more importantly, they are not trading time for dollars. They
Mhm.
want, if they are making $30,000 a month, but they are only working 20 to 25 hours a week as a mom, and they are present in the mornings and at school pickup and on the weekends, those are the clients that we want to work with. And those are the clients that we want to help save money, because if we can help save them $3,000 a month, right? That might be one less client that they have to sign, which is more time with their kids, right?
Yeah.
And so we've really honed in on serving CEO mom service providers in that revenue, in that gross revenue range, because they are aligned with our vision and values. Because right now I'm at a place where I'm not trading time for dollars. I'm
Mhm.
not, I thought that I wanted to hit 7 figures in 2024. And again, not because, not because somebody out there on social media said I had to. And I really stepped back and I was like, no, we don't need to hit that. We need to hit our profit margins. We need to serve our clients well, and we need to have a fulfilled life as a team, for me, for my team members. And we love our clients who are in that same mindset and that same phase of life with us.
Yeah. I'm curious that like kind of reflection and niching down
Hmm.
into that client. How long of a process do you feel like that was for you?
Oh my
Or is
gosh,
the process
ridiculous.
still ongoing?
It's always ongoing. That's one thing that I've learned about the niching down process. I'm a 3 wing too, so I'm a high achiever with the wing helper. So I set unrealistic goals for myself, and then I'm that helper, so I don't want to leave anyone out. It's sometimes a good combination. It's often a deadly combination. I've learned about myself. So that was really hard for me. So when I first started my practice, I mean, that first year when I made 6 figures, but I was burnt out. I mean, I should have just stayed in public accounting. I said yes to everyone. I was over delivering, undercharging, driving 12 hours a week and not charging, because that was back in the day. We weren't virtual, right?
Mhm.
And if it breathed a word of accounting, I was like, yeah, we do it, because I had this scarcity mindset that if I didn't take that client and take that payment, right, who knows where the money was coming from the next month. And that just wasn't true, right? And so it's, I did it for everybody. So then in 2018, I became a certified tax coach, and I really leaned into the tax strategy and the tax preparation and said, I'm letting go of the payroll. I'm letting go of the bookkeeping. I don't love it. It doesn't serve me. I need to hone in. Then, probably in about 2022, after our daughter was born, was when I really made the decision, like, okay, I either have to stay super small and solo and really make sure that I keep my client base small and stay, like, I'll probably cap out at 200,000 a year with, roughly 50% profit. Okay, like that works for a family. Or I need to really grow and double in revenue so that I can afford to bring on another tax accountant who can help me serve our clients. And so when my husband and I sat down and talked about it, I said, it's a couple things here. It's, I don't want to be the only one serving clients. That feels very heavy for me. That feels like I'm always on call and I never get a vacation and I never get a reprieve. And I think a lot of us feel that way as CEOs of our businesses, right? And so I was looking for a little bit more freedom there, but I also didn't want clients, and I have fantastic clients. I truly do. I have the best clients in the world. And so if it did take me 2 days to respond to them, they were never really angry, but I felt bad about that, because we have a 24 to 48 hour response time, and I like it to be 4 hours, right? Like that's what I want. And so I always felt this pressure, to kind of put them before my kids. And that's not what I was looking for. So as we're growing our team and as we're designing our team, we're making sure that everyone has a backup. That's important to me, that I don't just have a backup, that everyone on the team has a backup, so that they feel like if they need to step away for something personal going on in their lives, that they can do that, but our clients are still being served. So that was one thing that really kind of had me like, okay, what do I do? So as I was making those shifts on the back end of my business, I was also making shifts on the front end of my business. And so it started with female entrepreneurs, right?
Mhm.
And then I got down to female service providers because I really don't like inventory and manufacturing, and it's a different set of accounting and tech strategy, and I can do it, but I don't want to do it. And so then it was, okay, so everyone who's coming to me is really is a mom, right? And we have plenty of female clients who aren't moms, and they're some of our best clients, and we have some couples and things like that. We actually even have some male clients, and as long as they're very family oriented and aligned with our values, we work with them too. But when I really sat down and thought about the content that I put out there, which isn't a lot, y'all, but the content that I do put out there, the way that I speak, the strategies that I'm implementing, the way that I'm designing my business, the way that I'm helping my clients design their business, it really is because we are family focused and we have kids at home. And so that was really, so I don't know if there's going to be another iteration, and then we got down, so then it was just CEO mom service providers, and it's like, okay, well, if you're making 50,000, or if you're making, we had a $20 million client, right? But helping a client who's grossing 300,000 a year versus somebody who's grossing 20 million a year, that's totally different. The strategies are different. The communication styles are different. We're talking to their team, not them. And I didn't love that. And so that was when and it was just like this light bulb went off one day, Ruthie, that like, okay, CEO moms who aren't after that seven figure mark because they need to say that they're making seven figures. What they need is a business that lights them up, that feeds their family's financial purpose, but gives them the freedom with their families that they desire, because they're not looking to miss out on their kids' lives so that they can hit six figures. And I don't know when it happened, but it was just like, it was one day, it was just like, aha. Like you're so stupid for not realizing it sooner, right? Like my Enneagram 3 comes out and I'm like, well, why didn't you realize this sooner? But I don't know, everything happens in the right time and the right way. And it felt so good. And like we made a couple of shifts. I've made so many pivots in the last 18 months. It gives me, it's why I'm on anxiety medication now, probably the four kids at home, but also the pivots, because like I am a CPA planner. Like I like to say that I'm like a pretty progressive CPA. Like I'm pretty like up to date and I'm pretty aggressive, and I'm like, how can we get creative? And I'm fun to talk to. I'm not your typical boring CPA, right? But I am still like a planner at heart. I'm like, oh my God, we have to change our services guide again. Oh my God, we changed our offer again. Oh my God, the price change. Like it gives me like some anxiety around it. But this year we've like 2024, we have just hit the ground running, and I feel so good about everything. So I mean, I don't know, that's like four or five different niche changes in a 12-month period. Not
Yeah.
changes, but like
Sweet.
drilling down deeper
Yeah.
and deeper.
Well, and I think it's important with a brand that we do allow ourselves to continue to evolve, because as humans, we continue to evolve. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why, when I work with business owners, it doesn't matter if you've been in business a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. I want to talk about your brand. I want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about your mission, your vision, your values, your ideal client. And we're going to keep talking about it
Yep. Because
because
it can change.
yeah, it can change, and that's okay. I'm curious if you think the Enneagram 3 thing, it's so funny because I'm also a 3 wing too.
Okay. Okay.
And you always hear about Enneagram 3s that they're competitive. And I always
Yeah.
thought, I'm not competitive because I want everybody to win, right? But there's that like, I want to get this done fast. Like
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
that's Enneagram 3 in me of like, I need to respond right away. I want to get this done fast. I want to hurry up and do this. Like,
And
what
it's
do
the
you mean?
perception of how we look to people, right? Like I realized I sent out in my newsletter 2 Mondays ago. So yes, definitely that competitiveness. I think I've like taken a step back as like a mom and like four kids, and like I'm trying not to project that on them. I'm first child. A lot of Enneagram threes are first children, so I see this in my first child. And so yeah, like I'm big into community over competition. I am friends with other CPAs and tax strategists who do exactly what I do, but I believe like our max capacity for clients is 70. Do you
Mhm.
know how many female entrepreneurs are out there? A lot more than 70. I can't serve everyone. So
Yeah.
I need to be friends with other CPAs and tax strategists who do what I do. We work with multiple bookkeepers, right? Community over competition. But I still want to be better than everybody else.
I find myself like I don't think I'm competitive until like we were playing, my son discovered you can play song trivia on Alexa. It's called
Oh,
Song Quiz.
oh
And
gosh. Okay, I'm not going to start that downstairs with our Alexa.
so we're playing it, and like, he's 8. He wants to play, he
Mhm,
wants to answer, but
mhm,
like he
mhm.
can't say the answers fast enough. because then she's like, you got it wrong just
Yeah.
because he's too slow. So I'm like, let mommy answer. Let mommy answer. I'm like, I want to win.
And you're like, but I'm not trying to project my competitiveness on you.
Oh my goodness. Well, before we wrap up, I
Okay.
do have a couple questions I want to ask to get to know you. But
Okay.
before we do that, I want to know, like, if somebody just finished filing their taxes,
Hmm.
they're starting to think about, okay, maybe I could
Or
do
if you haven't and you filed an extension, it's okay.
it's okay.
Let's give some permission there that like if you didn't or if you're behind, like that is okay too.
Yes, absolutely. It's okay if you needed to file an extension. But if you're like starting to think about the next round or this round,
Okay.
what is like two things that somebody could do today to put themselves in a better position with their taxes for the next time?
Absolutely. Okay, so either you updating your numbers or getting a bookkeeper, right? Because like if it's April, May and you don't know where you stand for 2024 so far, like that's your biggest problem. So that is number one is if it by May 10th, you should know all the financial history of your business from January through April of this year. So that has to be number one.
Mm.
Number two would be to I think start interviewing tax strategists. If you're starting to hit those those profits that we talked about, those amounts, now is the time to start finding someone, right? Because we still have 6 or 7 months left in 2024 to strategize and really lean into those tax savings. And also, I just find that so many people wait until January, February to find their CPA, their tax professional, their tax strategist, and like that's not the time. Not only is the year over, but like we're starting to get really busy with stuff. So like now is the time to start interviewing because you should always be talking to 2 or 3 people, right? So that you can have someone in place by July and use the last 6 months of the year. So I would say make sure your numbers are in order and start interviewing to find your person.
Yeah, agreed. If you're waiting until January, it's probably too late. And I
Mhm.
actually have thought about that too, because like I'm like, oh, if I want to make a change, when is the time to make a change? Well, it's when they're due. That's
Yeah. I mean, look, you can like, so we're recording this, it's February and, we have onboarded an insane number of people December, January, February, and we're still able to help them and we can, right? But I don't know that that's going to be the case next year. We have extra capacity this year because I hired that new tax accountant. I can't promise that we're going to have capacity. And so what I see often is, the people who are accepting clients, they're either one, not going to provide you with a good service because they're overextending themselves,
Mm,
or two, they're not very good and that's why they have openings, right? Like that by far and large, most of the time, that's what I see. It's more, an exception like us where we just so happened to increase our capacity in November that we were able to really start signing on some additional clients and be able to offer help to them in like the throes of tax time.
yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So good. Okay. Couple quick questions just to get to know you. And it's
Okay.
fun that we were talking about branding and niching and all of those things. Cause I always love to ask our guests, what is one of your brand values? And how did you land on that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So our brand values, let me just tell you all 5 of them because I love them so much. They are trust, genuine, accountability, high standards. And of course, I'm going to forget the fifth one because I'm on the spot. But those are four of them. My favorite one is genuine. And that is what I always lean into because it took me years to realize that is why I have the loyal client base that I have, that I serve the way that I've designed every piece of my business around being a true genuine person and people get the real me. There's no fake anywhere. And so that's by far our most important brand value.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm curious, do you use that brand value? You want clients who are genuine. You want
Mm-hmm.
team members who are genuine. Like if
Yes.
somebody does not align with that brand value, then they're not part of the community, and that's
We've
okay.
had to let go of a client who, just her team more than her weren't aligned with our values and we had to let them go.
Yeah. All right. Well, one of our brand values at the Consistency Corner is a living with a growth mindset. And so I'm obsessed with personal development.
Yes.
So I would love to know, what is a personal development book or podcast that's a favorite? Or if you can't pick a favorite, something that you've read or listened to recently that you would recommend.
I was about to say there's so many because I'm big into personal development and always having a growth mindset as well. I actually just finished listening to Do It Scared by Ruth Sukup.
Hmm.
And I really liked it. I am about to go back to The Big Leap. That's another one of my favorites. It's been probably a solid year. I'm an Audible junkie. So I would say that one was really great. I highly recommend it. And I'm going to go back to The Big Leap because I think that that's one that like we just need to constantly remind ourselves. And then if I can add another one, We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers. That one really changed the way that I just thought about like asking for help, hiring help, asking others to do things. That one really kind of helped steer like I'm a woman, I am a mom, but I can do this.
Yeah, I love that. I loved The Big Leap. I'm with you.
Yes, one of
I
my
need to
favorites.
reread it because I read
Hmm.
it probably 4, maybe even 5 years ago.
Oh, definitely. Like there, like I have probably a rotation of about 5 books that I like to make sure I listen to roughly annually because like it's so good, and I need those reminders. Like come back to basics.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and our last one, because we are the consistency corner, I love to always ask, what is something that you are really consistent with, either in your personal life or your business that you're proud of?
Oh my gosh, I'm consistently inconsistent right now, and it drives me. It drives this Enneagram 3 Type A planner nuts that I'm consistently inconsistent right now. Is that allowed? Can I be consistently
Well,
inconsistent right
you
now?
know what? I'll offer you an alternative perspective. Consistent doesn't have to mean constant. So, like, think about, I use an example of the podcast. Like,
Hmm.
I release a podcast every week consistently.
Yeah, we
And
release a podcast every week. Thankfully, I got some editors on there, so we have a 2 guest, one solo. Sometimes those solos, I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta get a solo episode out. Something else that I've actually been doing really consistently, Ruthie, since January 1st of this year is writing in a gratitude journal every night. I write my 3 things that I'm most grateful for, and then my personal word of the year is imperfect. And so I write one way that I was imperfect that day to like really
Mhm.
reflect on like making sure that I'm leaning into that imperfect. So it could be a business thing, it could be a personal thing, right? And so I'm really proud. I'm like, I don't know, 50 days into the year that I've done this consistently every single night.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of myself for that because that
That's
for me, the Enneagram 3, like getting that brain to slow down and not do everything fast, to just like spend 3 to 5 minutes every night, reflecting on the day, taking the time to write it down and prioritize that. That's like a really big deal for me.
Yeah, I'm curious. The writing it down, was listening to an Oprah podcast, and she was talking about the difference in your brain in writing what you're grateful
Hmm.
for versus just thinking about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
And
it
being
sounds
able to go back and review it, right? Like I flip through sometimes, and it's like, oh, on this day, what was I how have I been imperfect? I can go and look and see every day how I think I've been imperfect.
yeah, yeah. And that's such a great way to like help your brain slow down before you go to sleep
Hmm.
versus like my terrible habit of scrolling on my phone. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, so I've really been trying hard not to work late at night because it takes me so much longer. Like if you see the screens on the computer or the phone, right? And it's like harder to get my brain to shut down. And so I've been trying to do like, and it's really hard. It's really hard to find things that don't require a screen for business and personal. And so it's like, okay, I'm gonna save the laundry, I'm gonna save the dishes, I'm gonna do this. Like it's hard to find things that don't require a screen an hour to an hour and a half prior to bed. It's really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, for sure. And that's even thing like I'm so used to reading the news on a screen or
Hmm.
reading a book on a screen. It's like,
Yep.
okay, we're gonna go buy some physical
Yes,
books.
I have a couple that like back in the day couldn't be out on Audible, and I have a bookshelf. I'm looking at my bookshelf over here, like y'all can see it. And so I've started I'm doing a reread. And so even if it's just like 5 pages a night, it's just like, again, something to like calm my brain, not be on a screen. And I do think it's helping because I had to work late on my computer recently, and oh my gosh, when I went to lay in bed, I was like, I can't go to sleep, and I
Yeah.
already have sleep issues, so I'm trying to like help that, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, Kimberly, this was such a fun conversation. If our listeners are interested in connecting with you, where do you hang out online? Where can they learn more?
Yeah, I don't hang out online too much, y'all. Don't judge me. But you can always go to our website. It's terracpafirm.com. If you go to /download, you can grab our 12 most missed tax deductions that are costing you money. That's a free resource that we put out there because missing deductions is like the best way to overpay in taxes. I'm also on Instagram at terracpafirm. I share inconsistently over there. Very inconsistently share on my Instagram. Oh, and
Yeah,
we have the CEO Moms Building Wealth podcast, which Ruthie is going to be on soon, where we have just like really open, honest conversations about what it's like to be a mom and a CEO and kind of doing both things and just really making sure you don't feel alone. That's one of my
yes.
big things.
I was gonna say, if you're looking for genuine conversations, genuine support, your podcast is a great place to find that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate you being
Thank
here
you
this
for having me.
conversation.